Scott, you know, it's hard to believe, but looking outside, how nice it is out there, you wouldn't believe it. It's cold and flu season, at least we're approaching that. And Dr. John Shufeldt is here today from Native Air Ambulance. He's the medical director to talk about ear infections, because a lot of times the flu is accompanied by an ear infection, or a cold, or vice versa. There's an ear infection in there somewhere.
There's an ear infection coming along somewhere. Actually, it is. As the weather gets a little cooler, you'll see the flu season come around, especially with the lack of flu vaccine this year. A lot of times the flu does precipitate ear infections, particularly inner ear infections.
And how do you know if you've got more than just a cold and it's going to graduate into an ear infection?
It's pretty tough to know until you start getting some pain. And with small kids, it's even more difficult. They'll run a fever, they'll itch their ear, tug on their ear, or just be really kind of fussy and irritable. As kids get older, they definitely complain of, hey, my ear is really killing me, or I have a headache, and you'll notice that they have a fever as well.
Now, you've got an inner ear infection or an outer ear infection. It could be either one, right?
Well, an outer ear infection is like a swimmer's ear, for example. And you hear people say, oh, I've got swimmer's ear. And that's really just kind of an infection in your ear canal. And with the chlorine in the water dries your inner ear, or dries your ear canal out, and that kind of precipitates this infection. And those are extremely painful in kids and adults. I mean, you know you have when you have them.
You got a great model here. Can you show us on this model exactly what is happening inside the ear when you do get an ear infection?
Sure. As an external ear infection, or otitis externa, this whole area in here that a physician looks in with an otoscope, for example, is all clogged with cerumen and debris and just kind of junk. And the canal can get very red and inflamed, and even just pulling on the earlobe itself causes a lot of pain. Some people are really prone to these. Diabetics, for example, people that clean their ears a lot are actually more prone to them, because they can cause some damage to the skin on the inner ear, or on the external ear here. Right. A middle ear infection is something behind the tympanic membrane, behind the eardrum, and you can see the eardrum right here. And when you look in with an otoscope, you see that's kind of red and inflamed and even bulging out with pus or fluid in there. That's waiting to get out, and left untreated, it will actually cause a rupture in that, and you'll see some drainage that comes out the ear.
Now, what do you do? You were saying that cleaning your ears can actually, you know, people are more prone to ear infections if they clean their ears a lot. What do you do to keep your ears clean?
Actually, they're more prone to the external form of ear infections, and you can still clean them. Just do it very gently. You don't want to stick, the pens in there, for example, and bobby pins. The Q-tips are probably okay.
Okay. Now, you know, we were discussing during the break about anthrax. We're going to kind of switch gears just a little bit, because it's on a lot of our minds right now with the scares and the actual confirmed cases across the country. And we were talking about just how rare this is, and explain just a little bit about what anthrax is, and how contagious, how it's passed along.
Well, anthrax, it's something in medical school that you'll learn and think, well, unless I'm in a farming industry or overseas, I'll never even be exposed to it. And lately now, I think we've all been overexposed to it. The chance of getting anthrax, even with the current terrorist threats, I've heard people, Senator Kyle said, it's about as rare as being struck by lightning, and that's still the case. Anthrax can be passed on, or you can get it a couple different ways. You can get intestinal anthrax, which is eating ill-prepared food. You can get cutaneous anthrax, which is having the organism on your skin. And not only does it have to be on your skin actually has to have a breakdown, a cut or an abrasion. And then the thing that people are most concerned with is the inhaled anthrax, the inhaling some spore, some substance that contains the spore into your bronchial tree, into your lungs, and then having it grow there.
Now, we know that a 7-month-old contracted it and tested positive for the cutaneous type of anthrax. How would a child have come in contact with that? They were at the ABC studios.
Exactly.
Do you brush up against it? How does this thing happen?
Well, it struck me as very unusual, because again, it should not get into your skin through your regular epidermis, through your skin. It should be an abrasion or cut there that you really can get it from. So how that child contracted it by being there, or even if they got it from being there, is tough. I mean, it sure sounds like there's a relationship between that studio and that child getting it.
All right. Well, good information here. I wanted to touch on that because a lot of us are thinking about it right now. And also, if you want more information, we have a website for you. I think we have a little board there. It's nextcare.com, and for more information on what Dr. John Shufeldt was talking about today. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks.